Hey everyone, welcome back to our third crash recap. Today we're going to watch me crash into a couple power lines a few months ago, and then we're going to discuss why it's important not to be overconfident and complacent when flying a drone. Let's get into it. So now that you guys saw a video of the crash, let's discuss what went wrong. I was in the process of doing a sideways pan shot on that barn there. That way I could put it into my video I was making. So I think that the most important thing to bring up is I left the whole video in so you guys could see that as I went over and approached the drone and picked it up, you can actually see how close my car was. And I was standing right next to my car when I was flying. The car was 40, 50 feet away, max. It was close enough. I had perfect line of sight of the drone, perfect line of sight of the pole and the guy wire. I knew the guy wire was there. The only thing I didn't know was because my perception was off, just how it you see the drone flying, you see the wire there, but it didn't click until the drone hit the wire that the drone was going to hit the wire. I was very certain I was going to miss that wire. And I think that, it's just, you got to keep in mind how hard it is to see wires. I have flown by wires so many times that I didn't even realize were there with my eyes. And when you fly by them, you don't see them on the camera of the drone until you're 10 feet away. And that's flying head on right at the wires. There's no chance of stopping. I've never hit one doing that, but it's come pretty close. So I think that's really important to realize how hard it is to perceive what you're going to hit until you actually hit it, even if you're not looking at it on the drone's camera. But if you're looking at it with your eyes at that distance, just certain angles can make it look like you're not going to hit something when you are. Now, as you're going to see coming up, I have the flight records video for that flight. And during that video, you will see that I had just got done making a right to left pass on that same barn. So what I did was I made a right to left pass of that barn. I didn't like the pass the way it turned out. I think a vehicle drove on the road down below as I was making the shot. I wasn't happy with the shot, so I thought I'll redo it. I'll do a left to right. That way I have two to pick from. Well, the right to left pass, you'll see if you pay really close attention in that flight recording, you will see the electric pole, how close it is as I make the right to left pass. I came really, really close to that guy wire, and again, didn't realize that I was as close as I was, clearly. But what I'm saying is that you got to keep in mind that I didn't realize how close I was, so I thought I was good because I was using the exact same path, just the opposite direction. So a couple inches of movement was enough that I ended up hitting that guy wire. And that was it. I just made the shot from right to left, so I figured if I did the exact same thing from left to right, I'd be clear. Well, I wasn't, and the drone crashed. Check out this flight recording video. Now that you guys have seen the crash video and the flight recording video, let's talk about the complacency aspect of it. So what you guys don't know is that this video, this clip, this crash all happened where my grandparents' camp is. That little field there, my grandparents' camp is to the left. I was making a video that day of their camp, the area around their camp, all places I used to hang out all the time as I was growing up. I spent a lot of time over there. And that's why I want to bring up the complacency part of it, because I didn't walk over to that guy wire. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made that day is the perception was off. And I get it, like 30, 40, 50 feet. I saw the wire. I knew where the wire was. But I've since learned that if there's something like that you're flying that close to, walk up to it. See where it actually is. Find some kind of marking on the ground or the sky, depending on what it is, the terrain around you. Find some kind of marking to realize and to put it in your mind. This is where this is. I can't come near it. I mean, it looks great. Again, 30, 40, 50 feet. You'd think that you would know that. You'd think you'd see it clearly. And I did see it clearly, but I didn't know exactly where it was in relation to the drone. So keep in mind, you really should walk up to obstacles like that if you're going to be flying that close. Or if you're flying that close, just get closer to the drone. Instead of being lazy and standing in one place that day, I could have walked the 30 feet and stood 10 feet behind the drone. I didn't. I should have. So it sucks. You got to keep in mind, don't become complacent. The only reason I did that day is because, again, I've spent so much time there. I knew that like the back of my hand, that whole property, that whole area there. I was very overconfident flying that whole day. And I'm amazed something else didn't happen because I got a lot of close calls that day with trees and stuff. Granted, I was doing a lot of like the ATV trails in the back, and some of the camps in the back are completely surrounded by trees. I wanted to encompass everything, including each individual camp, so it was very difficult to get some of the flights and shots. But I still shouldn't have been complacent. I should have been a lot less overconfident. And you just got to keep in mind, like, if you're doing something like that, no matter how much you know the area, no matter how well you know it, no matter how many times you've flown there, if you've flown there before, you still got to keep in mind all the obstacles and plan ahead for anything that could happen. Now, to wrap this video up, I would like to point out to everyone that the drone did make a full recovery. As a matter of fact, it wasn't damaged at all. I don't know how, don't know why. I was as surprised as anyone, but I hit the guide wire from the side of the drone. My drone, the drone I was flying at the time, the DJI Mini 3 Pro, does not have side sensors. Side panning is one of the most dangerous things you can do with that drone, and it's the only time I've ever hit something doing a side pan, but I've come very close several times. But the important thing to remember is it was not damaged. The props are what hit that guy wire, so I really expected to see the props shredded, but the props weren't phased at all. I mean, I did a full inspection of each individual prop, made sure they were all still smooth around the edges, no deformities or anything that were going to cause flight issues. And I made sure with a screwdriver that all the props were still tightened down all the way. The arms of the drone weren't damaged or cracked at all. Everything was in perfect condition. So, in closing, keep in mind that don't become overconfident when you're flying the drones. Don't become complacent. No matter how well you know an area, no matter how well you know your drone, no matter how well you know what you're doing and when you're doing it and how you're doing it, always plan multiple times, contingencies. You got to make sure that you're prepared for that kind of stuff. And don't slack off because you know the area better and because you've spent a lot of time there. Always check everything, just like you would if it was a place where you've never been before. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys later.